wanted to spend a little bit of time walking you through the disability representation analysis project because this is your culminating project. It's your bigger project that you're going to work on throughout this semester. Okay, so one of the things about thinking about ableism and stereotypes of disability and models of disability is recognizing that they have influenced everything. The ways that we think about disability, the ways that disability has been represented, the different policies that have been applied to disability. And so your job is to really think about something that you want to analyze for how it's represented disability. Okay, so this is the project overview. And just so you know, this project is going to challenge you to move beyond awareness toward critical analysis. And the idea is for it to contribute to more inclusive and accurate representations of disability in society. So how does your work have the potential to influence the ways that others understand and discuss disability? So contrary to other projects, which are research papers and things like that, this should not be a research paper. The idea behind this is for you to dig deeply into some sort of cultural artifact that represents disability in some facet, and then for you to analyze the ways that disability is represented and what it means, how it influences understandings of disability, beliefs about disability, and the ways that we respond to disability, and then unpacking like how we can change that. If it's negative, if it's representing disability in a negative way, how can we change that? If it's representing disability in a positive way, how can we then perpetuate that, promote that, and enhance that? So you can take a look at the learning objectives for yourself. I just want to focus on the content. So you can choose whatever cultural artifact you want, depending on your field of study and your interest. You could look at media and entertainment, for example, a film, a television series, a book or two books, video games or digital content. This could even be social media. So if you're going to use something like a social media analysis, you might want to compare like TikTok and Instagram, or Instagram and Facebook, or LinkedIn and Facebook, whichever. So you'll want to use two different social media platforms to do a deep analysis of how disability is represented, or how people are talking about disability. You could use news and journalism. There are a lot of news stories out there that are related to disability that are really rich platforms for you to analyze how disability is represented. So you would need to include a minimum of 5 stories to get a really deep analysis. You could also look at marketing and advertising, so brand campaigns. Like, for example, Target does a really nice job of representing or reflecting disability. So you might want to compare Target's advertising to, say, a comparable box store. So any piece that you're doing, you'll want 2. So you'll want to do a comparative analysis with 2 films, or comparative analysis with multiple stories, or a comparative analysis with branding campaigns with 2 particular stores. You could just do social media, looking at influencers. There's a lot of disability influencers out there that you could compare. In this case, you'll want to include a minimum of 3 so you can really dig deeply. You could also look at educational material. So if your background is in education, if you're a teacher, you might want to look at textbooks or different curricula. You could even do an analysis of children's books. There are a lot of curriculum out there about inclusion, like, educational inclusion, that you could really do a deep analysis on. And then public policy. So you could look at Social Security disability income. You could look at the Americans with Disabilities Act or Section 504. There are a lot of different political platforms that you could actually use to do this analysis. Okay, so once you decide which things you want to use to analyze for representations of disability, you're going to ground that in the different models of disability and different stereotypes of disability that we learn about. Okay, so your evaluation is going to assess whether your particular artifacts reinforce or challenge ableist assumptions. Do they center disabled voices and experiences? And if they don't, why do you think that is? do they consider intersectionality and diversity within disability? So is it from the are they including perspectives of gay disabled people or disabled people of color, or, you know, different, so disabled people have multiple identities. And then how does it impact public understanding or policy? So you're going to integrate a minimum of 8 peer-reviewed sources, and there are a lot of different sources you can use. So again, this is research, but it's not typical research in that you have to use journal articles. I would love for you to be able to find some journal articles to support this, but some of the analyses you're going to do might not have journal articles that you could use. So if you have difficulty finding at least one journal article, let me know, because I might be able to help you with some keywords. But I definitely want you to use reputable sources. So disability organizations, news articles, blogs written by disabled people. So if you have an idea and you're struggling to find sources, just let me know, because I can really help direct you. I have a lot of resources at my disposal. So let me know. Now to the presentation format, because you're probably wondering, like, how am I going to present this information? Because I really want to discourage you from writing a paper. I want this artifact, this project, to be something that you could share with others. So you could do an infographic that then you could post to your social media page if you're, you know, a social media user. You could do a documentary style video that includes visual examples of voiceover analysis. You could do a recorded digital presentation. So if you like to use slides, you could create a slide deck and then record yourself presenting the slide deck and then uploading the video to YouTube and sharing that out to others. You could do it as a podcast, do a podcast episode if you're someone who likes that style. You could do a recorded academic conference presentation. So thinking about, you could do a giant poster and then record yourself presenting the poster, or you could do slide deck again. Or you could use a creative multimedia project and do an alternative format like infographic or a digital exhibit. I'm leaving the presentation format really flexible for you. So whatever is comfortable for you, suitable for you, you get to decide the format. I'm just really going to discourage you from writing a paper. That's just one, papers are not typically a lot of fun for people to write. No offense to those of you who enjoy writing. I love writing, but I recognize that not everyone does. And honestly, they're not always as accessible to people. So I want you to think about creating a project that you could share what you've learned in this class with other people in your family, friends, or your professional networks. Okay, and then this is how your project will be evaluated. It's going to be evaluated on the content, your research. Did you use credible sources? Did you use a diverse amount of sources? You're going to be evaluated on your presentation, and then on the innovation and impact. Like, does it offer something to the field? Is it creative? Does it have practical application? So these are the pieces that will be evaluated. So hopefully this kind of helps you think through like your project. And as you're kind of considering different artifacts, I am going to create a Padlet where we can share what you're thinking. And because I'm not opposed to people working together, if there's some of you that have interest in the same idea, it's really powerful. So let's think about, maybe someone else wants to do an analysis of 2 films. So you could choose the 2 films together, and then you could record a podcast where you're both sharing your interpretation and your analysis. That would be really dynamic. So I will create a Padlet and put it here for you to share your what you're thinking about in terms of your topics. And I like using Padlet because then I can really quickly comment and give suggestions and even share resources on that Padlet, on that virtual bulletin board. So I will be doing that pretty quickly. So yes, so it takes some time, digest this, and then please do let me know if you have questions.